How's it going, everybody? This is Ryan Doze here for this episode of Across the Bifrost. I'm so excited that you decided to listen today. We have got a great show planned for you. I've got an interview coming up with Dan the Articulator. We're going to talk Thor action figures. We're going to talk photography. We're going to even talk some comics, some Jason Aaron, some Civil War, and why Iron Man should never mess with the God of Thunder. We also have our first recap, our first breakdown of Loki, Episode 1, Glorious Purpose, with another special guest. It is going to be a great show. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get going. Welcome, everybody, to this week's interview. I'm really excited to get to talk with another person whose work I've really grown to appreciate over the last few weeks and months. He does these great photograph sessions with action figures, which is really something I don't know if I could pull off, but he pulls it off well. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we're going to get rocking and rolling here. So, esteemed guest, tell us about yourself. What do we need to know about you?
Hey, Ryan. I'm Dan the Articulator. Really just a toy photographer on Instagram. I kind of just keep my Instagram page to just toy photos and, I don't know, ridiculous stories every once in a while. But, that's really all there is to my page and me as far as you guys are concerned. But first of all, thank you, Ryan, for having me on.
Absolutely,
this is a really cool idea. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So where are you in? I like to ask my guests, where in the 9 realms can we find you? Where are you from?
Midgard, unfortunately, but more specifically, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Moved here a few years ago from New York, actually, because we wanted to buy a house, and in New York, they don't want you to live in New York anymore. They just made it too expensive, too inconvenient. So I'm living south now. Yeah.
So you packed up the U-Haul and took all the figures south.
Oh yeah. I would say I have like twice as much as I have now. Then
oh my gosh.
Then, so it's a much lighter move. I never want to move again. It's crazy getting here.
When you say unfortunately Midgard, is there just totally off any kind of script? Is there a realm of Thor's world that you wish you lived in?
It's a good question. I would want to say Asgard, but I feel like I would get kicked out. So I'm too clumsy.
I feel like I would party a little too hard with Volstagg and I might get kicked out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you when you're not taking great pictures and posting them? What is your day job?
Super boring. I'm a project manager at a real estate brokerage, actually. So like we buy and sell houses, and I kind of run we do like a little bit of a pre-reno before we put the houses on the market, and I kind of run that and kind of take care of the houses when they're listed. And I say it's boring, but it's kind of cool. Like, get to drive around. I see like tons of houses, some nice, some really crappy, most in between. But it's nice having a field job.
Yeah,
so
that's the Donald Blake. That's Dan Donald Blake, and then the Articulator is your version of Thor. I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what? I started following you a little while ago, and really, I think the first picture that I really gravitated to was you did this Beta Ray Bill shoot, which I thought was super cool because even amongst superhero fans or Marvel fans, you don't really see a lot of Beta Ray Bill stuff. But if you're a Thor fan, man, that is a name you kind of have to know. So that made me wonder, like, what began this thing for you? Because you're doing deep cuts with characters. What started this love of photography and action figures? Tell me that story.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always kind of collected action figures, like, there was like a brief, I guess if you want to call it, hiatus in high school where like it wasn't cool and you had to kind of try and had friends over so you can have action figures everywhere. But
right.
like as soon as I had my own place when I was 20 and I had some disposable income, so I kind of like I really picked it up and kind of like I had a couple of Marvel Legends here and there. I had some figures based on video games that I played, like some BioShock and like Assassin's Creed, but I didn't really, until I started having a little bit of disposable income when I was living alone, did I like really dive deep into Marvel Legends. And like, I caught up with like everything I wanted to get, but like I had this, like, my place was too small to like display them. And also like, I was a single guy, I was like, am I going to display action figures? and like, I mean, it's not, whatever. I guess be yourself and all that. So
exactly,
like, they sat in the corner of my, and I put in quotes, air quotes, living room because it was just like this tiny room for a couch, a TV.
Yeah,
it was like just a pile of ugly old Marvel Legends Toy Biz boxes, which I don't know if you remember what they looked like or know what they looked like. They were like big and obnoxious and they had sharp corners and like walk near them wrong and you'd like cut your leg open or something like that.
Kind of a hazard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So came a point, and then I met my now wife, Christy. She actually she goes under the handle Action Figure Girl. She's also a toy photographer.
Awesome.
Get into that in a sec.
Yeah.
But she came over and she's like, why do you have all these in boxes? Why don't you put them up? Like, what's wrong with you, idiot? And so I was like, okay, well, this is my wife, so let's just, and then the rest is history. And then probably, so, throughout our relationship, we always kind of collected things here and there. She wasn't super into it, but she was like, got into it because she kind of saw like what was available because of my, I guess we want to call it lifestyle.
It was a lifestyle choice, man.
Yeah. I mean, what else could you call it? Like, nobody probably see behind me, but there's like an immeasurable amount of plastic behind me. Just, that's a lifestyle. So whatever. So like around, I don't know, like 2018, I think it was, we were a year into living in Charlotte. Like we didn't really, in our 30s and like couldn't really, how do you meet people in your 30s? Like if you're not friends with them at work, who are also specifically into this stuff. So it was like, we kind of saw that toy photography was a thing and we're like, oh, maybe this is a cool way to like actually do stuff with our collection and make friends and, be social and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll give all the credit to her. It was her idea for us to like create the pages. So from there, just kind of basically it was all born out of like wanting to build friendships with people like-minded, because even, I guess if you want to call it nerddom, like toy collecting is not everybody does it or gets it. So,
yeah, man,
that was kind of the way to get into that. So, and I feel, I feel like it was absolutely worth it. Like made some really good friendships and I feel like I've gotten better at doing this. I get to express myself creatively. I used to draw. I don't do that as much anymore. So it's like kind of like combining hobbies and still getting to do like creative outlet. And I don't know. It's never thought that it would be a thing, but here we are.
I'm just kind of hung up on the fact that like, you're like, man, should I display these or not? And then like a girl shows up and is like, oh, I got to talk to this guy. He's got a pile of toys in the corner.
Yeah, and she, basically naively is like, "Why, idiot? Open these. What are you doing? Like they're too open, So.
Well, I don't know if you can see like behind me. I got my small collection of figures, and I got people that come over and they're like, "Why are you displaying Thor, like a Thor Hot Wheels? Like why is that a thing?" And I'm like, if you got it, you would get it, but you don't get it. So,
Right. If I have to explain it, then it's not, I can't explain it. So.
Exactly.
But I think the Hot Wheels actually kind of works because like the box art is kind of a display piece in itself.
Oh yeah,
like, you got a picture with it.
Yeah.
It's so standalone because like what's cool about Hot Wheels, like it's like a minimalistic approach to like the character. Like I don't see a ton of them, but like I could imagine Thor. It's like if you look hard enough, you can kind of tell it's Thor. But if it's in the box, like oh, that's obviously Thor. So
yeah, you have this little tiny 4-wheel canvas that you have to like imbue the essence of a character onto. I never actually looked at it that way, but
it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Speaking of Thor, since that's what this podcast aims to do, to celebrate and explore his world, and really the people that are adding to it, in their own way. I wanted to know, like, because those were the pictures that really gravitated to me first, and I'm sure we'll get into all the other awesome figures, that you've done. I know there's like a lot of manga stuff on there and anime, and there's other superhero stuff you do. Where did your appreciation of Thor and his world begin? What is your connection with the character like?
So I don't remember specifically how it came up, but my dad actually was a big fan of Thor and just Marvel Comics in general growing up. He was born in 1949, so that would have put him like early teens with like Stan Lee starting Marvel Comics. Also, he lived in New York, like
lucky guy.
Manhattan. That was like Stan Lee's Marvel Universe was like made for him, and so he just kind of he was always into that. And like when I was growing up, there was the 90s Marvel cartoons and all that, and like I'm sure it was pretty cool for him to see like characters that he read in the comic book actually now like coming into the mainstream, and like his sons watch it. So like I guess he got excited and he started. I guess he took me to like some comic shops and like started talking to me about other characters that maybe weren't appearing in shows and stuff like that. And Thor, obviously, there's not a better example of that than Thor. I mean, back in the 90s, like the slim pickings, like for anything mainstream for Thor, like that Spider-Man cartoon, the X-Men cartoon, like even the Hulk cartoon and Iron Man, like, and you could probably count on one hand how many times he appeared in any of those. I think like maybe an X-Men, and then definitely a Hulk episode, but like it was just so he kind of told me about that. He got me into it, got me some comics to read, and I was super young, and like it's so weird. People think comics are for kids, but they're really not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I'm like 5 or 6 years old. He's handing me comics, and I'm like, I could read this, but like I don't quite get it. But the pictures are cool, and like Thor's look just, he just had the look like giant red cape, like massive, towering over everybody, just swinging the hammer around, like beating the crap out of whatever was in front of him. So I mean, that was super cool. Like just, it also kind of felt like. It almost felt like I'm the only one who knows about Thor because all my friends were watching like X-Men, and it's like So it's like it was a gift and a curse. It's like Thor's like my guy. Nobody's gonna give a crap about him, but like also there's not anything Thor in existence. Like I think, only very very recently, thanks to that movie and the MCU is like Thor actually a thing now. But
So I just love that. So I love that the connection really with the character and superheroes in and of themselves comes from another connection with your dad. I think that is just that's awesome, man. I'm incredibly jealous of the time he grew up in, like comics wise. That is the birth of the Marvel age. Does he? I mean. Does he have any old books that he kept, or was he one of those kids that read them to shreds? And
unfortunately, does not have anything to his name. His grandma, my grandma actually, his mom, just threw everything away, like toys. It was like my parents were borderline hoarders and kept like everything from like little sock puppets I had to like when I was 4 years old just Beanie Babies and all this other crap from the 90s that just like everybody had, and just unfortunately it's all trash probably.
But there's no Journey into Mystery '83 just hanging out in his basement.
Imagine. I'm sure he had it. It doesn't keep me up at night, but I'm sure probably will tonight, thinking that like he had that and probably all these other first appearances. But he lived in New York. Like it's like probably, I don't know, could have bumped shoulders with Stan Lee, like just the same city,
You gotta stop saying stuff like that. That's the dream right there.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing to show for it, but he had, didn't remember a whole lot of stuff, but he just knew about characters and would tell me about them. Super into Spider-Man, obviously, but for every reason, Thor, he would just talk about him and made him sound so cool. So I don't know, kind of gravitated towards him.
Yeah.
And,
so how has that?
That's where the love started. Yeah.
How is that? Because bringing it into your love of the character and the characters around him to modern day, and what you and your wife are doing with these accounts, as this outpouring of love for these characters. How have you chosen to approach the character in your photography, or maybe just break down the photography aspect of this, and then how you've chosen to approach those characters specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to kind of come up with something completely unique that hasn't been seen in a comic book. Again, 50 years of 80. Well, I guess 50 for Thor, but whatever. So it's hard to come up with just original, ideas of anything. But I tend to lean towards recreating iconic moments or comic book covers, or just kind of famous scenes, or taking a spin on a famous scene or something like that.
Okay.
You talked about the Beta Ray Bill picture, for example. That was just kind of born out of I want to take a cool picture out of Beta Ray Bill. So
it came out great, man.
Pictures, I think. I appreciate that. Thank you. But I think the week before that, because I try to do a Thursday post, for Legendary Thor's Day. Yeah, exactly. So I try to, it's hard to keep up with that every single week, but week before that I did, just a recreation of the Odinson on the moon after, he became unworthy, right?
So good.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And I think another time I did just a recreation of one of Assad Rabique's covers from that Jason Aaron run, I think 2012 or something like that, with just young Thor, old Thor, and then just present day Thor. I think I did that last year, but it's kind of where I go, just kind of recreate iconic kind of scenes with the figures that I can, and maybe every once in a while, I just want to see Thor beat the crap out of Juggernaut. I'll do something like that too. So
do those crossover issues, man.
Yeah, exactly. And try to keep it, fresh, because if I try to do Thor every single Thursday, it's going to get kind of stale. So, maybe throw Loki in there or whatnot. I have some ideas. I don't know. You probably can't see behind me, but I got a whole corner. Let's see. Still got, the Destroyer, Malekith, Thor, Sif, and try to maybe throw them in there. But yeah, so basically just kind of breaking down and recreating famous scenes and stuff is kind of what I lean towards most, it seems.
Yeah. I even actually I don't know if you noticed, we're going to get killer audio here on this. Your video is actually not on. So if you keep saying what's behind you, I would love to see it, but I can't right now. I'm looking through. I'm honestly, I have your page up next to me, and I really think one thing that I appreciate about your approach to these characters, I mean, you got so much awesome stuff here, not just comic stuff. I mean, you've got a few Skeletor things on here where I'm not gonna lie, I freaking love Skeletor, and you're speaking my love language with this Skeletor stuff. But the way that you light and the way that you shoot Thor, you just capture to me so much of his essence. And what's crazy is sometimes I'll be scrolling through, and I kind of forget that it's a toy, like it's an action figure. Like how has that been like for you trying to like elevate? Like you're not just some guy sitting in his basement, taking Polaroids of toys. Like how have you tried to elevate it to that point of where you're trying to create art with these photo sessions you're doing?
So that, first of all, is a massive compliment because lighting is always something that I struggled with and sometimes still like struggle with. Sometimes I'll try to set something up and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, so that means a ton, first of all. And I wish I had a better answer, except just, when I actually went and made a conscious effort to get photography, lighting, materials and equipment, it kind of just, it bumped it up for me and it kind of was a game changer. And I feel like I like playing with color a lot, and I think that kind of just makes pictures pop more.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could be heavy-handed with the lighting sometimes, but with the color lighting at least. So it's really just kind of like I'm trying to set up colors that kind of complement the characters or create try to get the essence of like what time of day it is, or are we like in a building? Do we want to have like some kind of dim lighting or something like that? So it's a tough question because it's not so conscious. It's just like kind of mess around with things until it just kind of looks right. And I have like these gel filters that I lean on a lot, and sometimes it's like just mixing those colors around and different temperatures and stuff like that, just until like kind of feels all right. And I have a graveyard of pictures that just like I will never post because I just like don't feel like something was off about it most of the time, the lighting.
Yeah.
So it's almost, you could almost say it's like a crapshoot. Like I'm learning every time I take pictures, and if it works and it doesn't, like I don't like cringe when I look at it, that means it's good enough for me to post. So that's kind of just my method to the whole thing. I wish I had a better answer for that, but
well, no, it's more of like like the picture has to feel right for you, like, and sometimes do you ever get just a quick side, like, do you ever get a picture that's like, man, this is a good picture, but I don't really feel like it fits? Do you ever have that feeling when you get to a character, or does the feeling supersede that kind of thought?
No, I mean, you nailed it with that. Like every once in a while, like I'll take something and just like something feels off. Maybe it's the setting, maybe it's just, it could be anything, something so, minute that can just like kind of throw it to a spot where like I don't know if I really want to put this out there in the world. So like the littlest thing can throw something off, and that's arguably that could be like being hypercritical. But I just I try not to be too precious about pictures that I take. It's it's a hobby, but at the same time I don't make myself look stupid with what I'm posting. So
no, man, you want to be good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I do something, if you're not going to try to be halfway decent at it. So
I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, totally. I've been there many times.
Well, I know that like I think it was either earlier on this last week or maybe a week or two ago, you posted this this Loki that was so spot on. Like it felt the most Loki that I think a picture could. It was correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not getting all the terminology right, but like it was green everywhere, and I think there was like fog in it. You made fog, man.
You got it. Yeah, so that's actually just like polyester that like you would use to like stuff a pillow. So
okay,
just kind of like put it around. It's like it's working with fog's a little difficult. I actually tried taking something today, and it's like it's so temperamental. So like when I can use practical fog like that, I try to. And
okay,
with that picture specifically, I was really going for that moment in Straczynski's run back when like Thor was going back and he rose Roxton, and he was trying to bring all the Asgardians back, and Thor Loki came back in Sif's body, but then that was him coming back into his original body, just like emerging from this fog, and just like that picture always stuck with me as like that's Loki to me. So
it personifies him.
Like, going back to just like recreating famous and iconic moments in comics or whatever it may be, try to get like the essence of the character in moments like that. So,
well, you nailed it with that. And with the Loki TV series coming out, I'm just like, man, you're probably gonna get tons of people hitting you up for more Loki stuff.
I appreciate that. I wish we had some better Loki figures, but that one, I love that one, but it hasn't aged well. The articulation is not as good as it was. Then, maybe we'll get in a better comic accurate one, because there was one a couple of years ago and it fell a little flat. But
okay,
I'd be all about that. I mean, honestly, any and all Asgardian that they want to do, I'm all about. So,
so speaking of figures, I wanted to ask you a few Thor specific questions, and maybe not so much on the photography part of it. But do you have a favorite Thor related figure in your I'm sure treasure trove of figures you own?
Yeah, actually I do. Until very recently, it was like a Thor Marvel Legends that was based on like this comic from Jason Aaron when he first took over Thor.
Wow.
Just like so until very recently it was that, but a couple of years ago, I think now at this point, Marvel Legends did an 80th anniversary line of figures where they kind of basically pulled directly from Alex Ross's artwork. And,
my gosh.
Yeah, so
it's a heavy hitter.
Exactly. Yeah. So they put out a classic Thor, like, first appearance look. And, it wasn't the perfect Thor to me at the time, because like it's capes, plastic capes suck. I'll just say like they really throw off like posing and, the weight of a character and balance. It's a killer. Like,
yeah.
I wish that if there was one, I'll take a price hike if they could just go ahead and stop doing plastic capes on any line of figures. So
more that fabric feel.
What was that?
The
fabric. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I was brave enough to rip that thing off and actually take myself to a craft store and buy, actual like fabric, or, I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of silky a little bit. I have another, like a 12-inch Thor, and I tried to get like the material on that cape. So basically I like put my crappy home ec skills to use and like sewed a wire cape and like put it in there. It came out halfway decent.
Nice.
And once I did that, I was like, okay, I've transformed this, and I think I like it now. Because you couldn't move the head on it or anything like that before, because the plastic cape got in the way. And so Marvel Legends 80th anniversary Thor. It's got to be my favorite.
Okay.
So far.
Yeah. And you just mentioned, like, we've seen so much of Thor over the last, 6-7 decades, 80 years of Marvel.
Yes.
And you, so I got to have you back and we got to talk about this whole aspect of it. You have said Jason Aaron's name a few times, and I love, Rabik's art on those. I don't know if you're reading right now, but Donnie Cates and Nick Klein are doing a fantastic job on him right now. But Jason Aaron's one of my favorite authors for Thor and for the Avengers, actually. He provides so many great moments for Thor. And I want to know what your favorite moment of Thor is, whether it's a movie moment. We actually really haven't talked about the movies that much, which is fine.
Yeah.
What's your favorite moment of Thor in his, illustrious history?
Comic wise, I thought about this a little bit, and it's kind of funny. I was trying to think of if there was some kind of action scene or something that he did, but I keep going back to this moment where, Thor was not around for the events of the Marvel Civil War.
No, he was not.
And Tony Stark had the gall, I don't know if you remember, to actually clone Thor from...
Yes, he did.
His own cybernetic Thor. So, and that went horribly.
Of course.
Absolutely, he killed Goliath. It was not good. Luckily, Hercules, fixed that at the end of the film. But when Thor actually came back, and that was again during Straczynski's run. I forget exactly why, but they were in New Orleans, this was post Katrina, so they were kind of talking about that and bringing real life into comics for a moment, and forget why exactly Thor was there, but Iron Man just kind of shows up. It's like, what's up, man? How you been? Stuff has changed since you've been gone, and Thor basically he was super quiet the entire time. Tony Stark being Tony Stark, just talking and kind of telling him this is how this is, and then Thor just kind of shuts him up and just basically tells him, you are a piece of crap person. You cloned me. You killed my friends. You have some nerve. And he and I wish I could quote it word for word, but they were about to throw down basically, and he rips his helmet off and says something to him that basically breaks him down into just. I wish that I could tell somebody off the way that Thor told Tony Stark. It was just so satisfying. It was, especially because the Civil War was still raw at that moment.
Yes.
So it was everybody was pissed at Tony Stark, and they just I think Thor just kind of said exactly what needed to be said to Tony Stark, and I still think about that as favorite moment.
Civil War. So Civil War is my favorite comic arc. In my lifetime. I'm 30, and when they brought Civil War to life on the screen, I was like, okay, I think you got parts of it. I understand that would have been kind of a feat to do as a movie, but leaving Thor out of Civil War was so smart, because then we didn't really get that moment of comeuppance when he returns. But that is, I can literally see the panel in my brain right now, and I'm like, yeah, Tony, you should not have crossed this guy. You shouldn't have.
Yeah, and especially to find out that I think he mentioned in the actual comic, in the Civil War comic, that he took that hair from Thor when they first met. And so you've been planning this the entire time. You had some inkling that this was going to happen the entire time. And arguably, it's kind of good to have that, foresight, but also don't say that you took it. Don't say that was the first time you met. It's just kind of, I still don't forgive Tony Stark for it. I have a problem with Iron Man.
It's like, dude,
I still don't. Like, he's arguably like redeemed himself in the comics many times to many people, but I don't trust him. Still don't.
Tony, if you're gonna take the nuclear option, at least make sure you're out of the blast radius. Like,
right. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite movie moment of him with Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of the character?
Yeah, easily. And I don't cry a lot or at all during movies.
Okay,
but like, I can't. I don't know. When he showed up in Infinity War, with Groot and Rocket behind him, and said, "Bring me Thanos," I got a little choked up. Not gonna lie.
Oh,
and, yeah.
Yes.
So, that had to have been like my favorite moment. And again, it's just words. Like, it's not anything that he did. It's just words of his. And
yeah.
Like, So.
Yeah. I think sometimes he, because he's such a brute and he's a god, and so many people refer to his power set, his dialogue and his like cerebral approach to things gets underrated.
Yeah, for sure. And between that and then the when Immigrant song kicked in Ragnarok in the beginning, where he's fighting Surtur, that too. Like, I bounced between the two, but I had to go with the one that kind of like put me in a more emotional state. So that had to be another favorite of mine, because really, but just the way the Thor standalone movies start off, they were all pretty strong, because you just gotta, you get like just a quick glimpse of like what's going on with Thor, and it's usually just him beating the crap out of everybody. And like, even Thor 2's intro was awesome, and like, say what you will about Thor 2, but like, that intro was amazing.
Believe me, this podcast will get to the Dark World. We will pick it apart 1,000 times. Kind of taking it back to your love of this character and your approach to it, mainly through the lens of photography. As we kind of wrap up here, what do you want to do? What is your hope and your goal with your photography in general?
I mean, honestly, I've gone as far as I think that I ever thought that I would with this. Like I said, I came here really to just make friends and just have a creative outlet. And, I've made some really great friends, and I feel like I've gotten better at this from when I first started. So that is like as much as I could ask for. But like, I have been featured by Hasbro before.
I would have led with that, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, that is right there is like above and beyond anything that I could have ever hoped for. They did like a presentation last September. They revealed new figures and talked about new products and stuff like that. And to be kind of put up there and noticed by a multi-billion-dollar company, it's small time running the team and of whoever saw that, but it's still pretty cool. And again, way further than I ever thought that I could go, or even like really what I deserved for what it was. Like, being up there with people way more talented than me and people I look up to is just that's it. I've peaked. So like, I can't ask for anything more than that. Like, yeah. So
that's awesome, man. Featured by Hasbro. I'll bet you a kid Dan didn't think that when he was buying Hasbro toys, he's like, yeah, someday they're gonna want to use my stuff.
Yeah, no, not at all. Kid Dan was actually writing letters to Toy Biz requesting Thor toys. And they actually answered one, so that was kind of cool. But
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give you just this opportunity here on this small little platform that we're trying to grow and use to promote yourself, promote your work, really anything you want to say here at the end, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just follow me at the Articulator on Instagram. that's really my only social media that I actually do anything with. I mean, I have a Twitter. I've never tweeted, but I have one just in case.
What's your wife's Instagram handle?
Hers is Action Figure. So
go follow her as well.
Figure, yeah, but like instead of the E at the end, just an L. So
okay.
So yeah, follow her too. She takes a lot of pictures of Androids, and she's actually branching out to taking the pictures of Marvel Legends and Star Wars figures and stuff too lately. So that's really cool. But yeah, that's all I got in terms of social media and things to plug.
Well, man, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you're listening to this, go follow at The Articulator and get your very routine, almost daily dose of action figure photography. Dan does a great job, and every so often he features our boy. He features Thor in his world. So thank you, Dan. We'll talk to you down the road, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ryan. You have a good one.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first Loki recap. Yeah, episode 1 is in the books. It was a phenomenal thrill ride. It was what really I feel like a lot of us fans were waiting for, and I can't wait to dig into this episode with a friend from work. Her excitement, you will really get a hold of that when she starts digging into the episode as well. But I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we are going to dig into Glorious Purpose, the first episode of Disney Plus's Loki. So, friend, introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Zoe, and like Ryan said, I am a good friend of his from work.
Yep.
I am so excited, Ryan, that you asked me to do this because I have been such a Marvel nerd, and there's very few people around here that understand and appreciate the Marvel universe as much as you do. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I know you're more of a Winter Soldier fan. You're Bucky all the way, but I'm really glad that you decided to come on and talk about Loki with me. So without further ado, what were your first impressions of this monumental first episode we got, Zoe?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just from the opening scene, I was just so excited throughout the whole episode. I literally had to watch it twice because the first time I was just like, oh my gosh. Like I feel like I was almost overreacting to every bit and piece of that first episode. But like, I loved how well this first episode came out to be, if that makes sense. Like, I love how they immediately took up from the minute he took the Tesseract in New York of 2012, like I love how they opened with that, because it takes us right into it, and there's no seeing a glimpse into the episode, and then they have to bounce back from the past to now, you know what I mean? So it was just, oh my gosh, it took my breath away. It was so good.
So with our time here, we're not going to have enough time to walk through the episode beat for beat. I'm sure there's going to be time for that down the road somewhere when we can dissect it more on the detail level. But what were some of the high points of the episode? Like when you think back of your multiple viewings of this first episode, what were the high points for you that maybe just connected with you the most, or made you laugh the most, or were like, oh my gosh, that made me so happy, that made me so sad? What were those high points for you?
Well, some of the high points, oh gosh, there were just so many. I loved the moment where he, gets through all of the testing parts in the beginning there. And when he's like waiting in line to, be put on trial, I loved how, Miss Minute comes on and talks about the whole timeline and everything, just because it's been a while since we've really talked about the timeline and all this stuff from Endgame and things. And so I loved that part, just because it dumbed it down for me, because sometimes it's hard for me to it's hard for me to process things One of my other favorite high points of the episode was the moment when he goes into the evidence area to talk to, the guy who took the tesseract to put into evidence and stuff. I thought that was so funny because one, he didn't know what a fish was, and he's like, "I'm gonna gut you like a fish."
Right.
He was just he was trying to scare him, but it wasn't working, and I love that because it was so funny.
What's a fish?
Yeah, he's like, what is that? And he's like, "You're telling me you don't know what a fish is?" It was just so funny. But then, like, when that moment when he opens the drawer and Loki sees the Infinity Stones,
oh my god,
my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, "What?" And then
are those what I think they are?
I was like, "That is that really the Infinity Stones?" And then he asked, and he's like, "Yeah, they're kind of useless here." And I'm like, "Okay, that makes sense." But it's just like, oh my gosh, like, why do they have so many? And so it just like started unraveling all these questions, and it was definitely, that was a good, one of my favorite moments probably, because it really intrigued me and it made me excited to see what else was going to happen later in the series.
It was honestly, so speaking of that scene, it was so jarring for me, honestly. When you see that drawer open and there's multiple Infinity Stones for each color, for each aspect of the universe, I'm like, oh my! And then he says that line like, oh yeah, some guys use them as paperweights.
Which that killed me because
What?
I know what some of those stones, like what this, like the sacrifices that had to be made for those stones.
Exactly.
And that just broke my heart. Like, I'm thinking of Natasha and, Gamora, both having to like fall down that cliff, and oh my gosh. And then Vision with the Mind Stone, like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is killing me. But then it also made me think about how, it's so hard for Thanos to get all of the stones. Like, how come there's so many? Like, in like there, like how many other people have gotten those stones? Like, it makes it almost seem a little easier than what we originally thought, if that makes sense.
No. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The honestly, the one of the high points for me, and like you said, Zoe, there's just so many high points. There's so many things to get excited about. I mean, really, there wasn't like a low point of the episode. But one of my favorite moments was when Loki goes back to the viewing room and
Yes.
he watches this marathon of sadness. And he because we have talked off air about this a lot, that we are getting unredeemed Loki. We are getting,
Yes.
peak of his ego and his selfishness and his mischief. We're getting to that, and he sees his mother die. And Frigga's death in Dark World is already sad, but he's looking ahead at a future he does not know. Frigga dies, Odin dies, and then he watches himself die.
I know. I literally, like you said, we talked about this off air. It brought me to tears because, like, how it's through movies and such a long period of time of like personal growth for Loki to get to that point, and like just having him go through that within a matter of like a minute or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, I can't imagine how overwhelming that was for him, and it was just so heartbreaking because, like, oh my gosh,
It was rough.
it was so rough.
But no, like, now your opinion on this? After he has that sad moment of watching himself die, what kind of feel did you get from his next, like, the next vibe he was giving off? Like, I got like this sense of like, oh, he's not like, oh, that's like the weak version of me, and I'm not gonna let my life become what I just saw. Did you get like, what kind of vibe did you get from that?
My initial reaction was, he, like I said, I was just so caught up in the excitement. For me, the first time, it felt like he was, like upset, but then he kind of, I almost got a sense of him like feeling okay about, everything that happened. Like, but
Okay.
then I'm like, no, I have to watch this again. And the second time, I could tell he was just so mad. He was like,
Yeah.
this is how my life is. He's like, no, this cannot be my story. And I could see how frustrated he was that this is the life that is his purpose, because he always talks about his glorious purpose,
Yeah.
and it just was not glorious at all for him. And so I can tell he's very frustrated.
Yeah. I think so. I think some of going into this episode, some of the main talking points have been like, we get unredeemed evil Loki. What are they going to do? As if like they're not going to flesh out his character a lot. But I think in this first episode, especially with his dialogue with Mobius, and
Hmm.
Mobius really, really pushing the character. Like Owen Wilson's portrayal really just skyrocketed to the top of my mind, in like that powerful Marvel performances, because he's like, no, man, why are you hurting people?
Yeah.
What is your, like, all the glorious purpose BS aside, why are you hurting people, Loki? And you see Loki try to like have this air about him of like, well, like they crave subjugation. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah, you sound really smart, but like, what happens when you actually get to rule? Like,
Yeah.
have you thought that far ahead? And then when you see Tom Hiddleston, just from a performance aspect, when you see him in these scenes where he is portraying deep this deep like how do I say this, the complexities of the character, you see
Hmm.
it come out in his mannerisms, in his face, and how he responds to Mobius, and to, even the desk clerk with the fish references. Like, he is struggling, like
Yes.
seriously struggling. I just maybe like, what did you see in Tom Hiddleston's performance in this episode? Because we've known this character for 10 years.
Hmm.
Did you feel like he added anything in this episode to a character that he's already played in multiple movies? Um, Maybe Tom Hiddleston specifically. How did you feel he did in this opening inaugural episode?
I feel that Tom Hiddleston has honestly, his the way he portrays Loki, I feel like this is one of like his best performances, because I mean, in the past we see Loki as this, really mischievous character, and like he's very, you know, I don't know how to put it into words, but he's just that mischievous character. But in this one, it's more of those, like he really brings out more of those emotions we never really get to see much in Loki, because he's always
Yeah.
putting up his guard to be
Oh,
like, I'm a
good.
god and all this stuff. Like in this episode, like being able to see all these emotions, because even in the other movies, like when his mother died, like he had to process that like on his own. He never saw his mother actually die, he just heard about it. And like, it's just a whole new way of seeing how Loki processes his emotions and expresses them, and like, kind of deals with those struggles.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's almost like a character study in what makes Loki tick.
Hmm.
And honestly, I don't think maybe sometimes he even knows what makes him tick.
Yeah.
As we see from those scenes, where he's holding the Tesseract in his hands, and he's just like kind of slumped over, sitting down, and he's like, you know what, yeah, you're right. A lot of this, in layman's terms, he just kind of says, yeah, a lot of this is an act. I'm
Hmm.
covering up my own weaknesses.
Yeah.
So, well, man, I could talk about Tom Hiddleston all day long.
Oh, I
But
could too, trust me.
so we talked in the preview of all these new characters we get to meet. Um,
Yes.
so I wanted to know, like, who stood out to you in this new cast of characters? Who stood out, and why did they stand out to you specifically?
I mean, like we talked about before, like definitely Owen Wilson's character really stood out to me, just because of, the way he, really gets to break down Loki, and, is working with him and stuff like that. Like that character really stood out to me, because I've seen Owen Wilson's other movies like Marley and Me and all this stuff. Like it just I didn't understand why they picked him. But then after watching the first episode, I'm like, okay, no, like now I see it. Like he is
Yeah.
a good match for this show. But like we talked about before, off record, whatever. The one girl guard, we don't know her name yet, I don't believe, but she stood out to me too because of just her sass level. Because it's
Yes.
really, I really connect with that.
Bring it.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how, what else this character brings to the show later on.
Yeah. I think I mean everything you said about Owen Wilson as Mobius. I echo and I second, a thousand times over. I also think that the judge, I don't think we got her name in the episode, but her name is Renslayer. From just some of the preview stuff I've gone into. She is interesting to me because she has a moment where Loki asks, "Well, where are the timekeepers?"
Mm-hmm.
I got this whole intro to the TVA breakdown. Where are these time slayers? They're and she has a moment where she's like, "Oh, he's questioning something that maybe we don't want him to question."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, they're determining the divine timeline," and he's like, "Well, then what are you doing?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I lay down the judgments that they, what, this isn't about me. Like, so I know she'll probably be more of a minor character, but maybe there's more complexity to that, relationship. And she clearly has a tension with Mobius, from their
Yes.
little like miniature like side conversation there. So that'll be interesting, something to track. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with the time we have left, I want uh I want you to just like share with the listeners, with the audience, Zoe, what are like some predictions you have going forward? Give us like what's like your most outrageous prediction you have for Loki and the remaining 5 episodes we have.
Well, okay, I have two, but I will keep them brief. The
Okay.
first one I kind of got from a TikTok that I saw just last night about, because I'm not good with the comics, but there is, in the comics that talk about this portion of, information we're going through with this show, that um Modius, is that his name? I can never.
Mobius.
Mobius. Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. Anyway, Mobius, his character, like there's a prediction out there that he is like one of the main like bad guys, and I'm curious
Okay.
to see if that actually happens. Again, I'm not sure what bad guy that actually is in the comic books.
Okay.
But then my other prediction is, okay, so when they're going, when Owen Wilson's character Mobius is going out and is, investigating these, kind of crime scenes of all these
Yeah.
TVA people that have been being murdered and all this stuff. They think that it's Loki, and he says that it's Loki in this first episode, but I have a gut instinct that it's actually not Loki. Like maybe
Okay.
Loki's working with this person, but it's the hooded figure,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure this hooded figure is not Loki and it's someone else making it seem like Loki, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can buy into that.
I
Yeah.
mean, all signs point to it's Loki and it's another version of him, and there's all this talk about that, but honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could. Wow, now you've got my mind kind of racing about who it could be. There's literally a whole comic book universe of people to choose from. So,
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
I would just say, for me, like my bold prediction, I this whole obsession that the TVA has, this mandate that all the with the pruning and the the guarding of the divine timeline. I think that that is a bad thing. I'll put it this way. I think the timekeepers are preserving a timeline where they remain powerful and maybe not for the best reasons.
Yes, I can
Because
see that. Yes.
for those of you that listen to my preview, I have a feeling, and this is not original with me, but I've really fallen in love with this idea that Kang the Conqueror from comics and from fighting the Avengers, who has just been cast in the next Ant-Man movie. The actor Jonathan Majors is playing him in that movie. I have a feeling that Kang and his diabolical multiverse, aspirations is connected to this divine timeline, and that maybe Kang is one of these timekeepers. That is my bold prediction. I will just say
Okay.
I don't think the TVA is up to I don't think they're up to completely honorable things, but maybe like the characters we know on the level that we've experienced them, like the judges and the ones that go out through time to reset these timelines. Maybe they don't know about the nefarious aspect of the TVA.
Yeah.
That's just a little thought that I had the other day that I really enjoy. But
I agree with that. I can see that.
So that wraps up our recap of Glorious Purpose, Loki, Disney Plus, #1. Man, it was a thrill from beginning to end. There's so much of that episode maybe we didn't touch. And if that is something you want to reach out to us and talk about your impressions of Loki, reach out to us on social media. We want to talk to you. Zoe, thank you for joining me for this episode 1 recap. Is there anything you want to say as we leave, or plug your social media stuff? I'm going to give you this last 30 seconds. You have it. Do with it what you want.
Okay, well, I don't really have much to add else about this episode, but just that I'm so excited to see what else these couple episodes have in store for Loki and everything else. I'm just super excited, and yeah, my Instagram is just Zozo Amzing. It's
I like your handle a lot, by the way.
Thank you. I misspelled it once when I was in high school, and it just stuck with me. So
fantastic.
You can pretty much find me on all social medias with that handle. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Zoe, for joining us. We'll see you at work.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
That does it for the show today, everybody. I want to thank Dan, the articulator, for stopping by and talking action figures and photography with us. We got some Jason Aaron talk in there. We talked about Iron Man. We talked about why he shouldn't mess with the God of Thunder. It was a great time chatting with him. Also, thank you to Zoe for stopping by and breaking down Loki, Episode 1, Glorious Purpose. I hope you're enjoying that show as much as we are. It has been a thrill ride, and I've only seen 1 episode so far, so can't wait to see what happens with the rest of that show. Reminder for you, on Thursdays, we drop vintage episodes where we break down the history of Thor. So last week we dropped the first one. We broke down the first 3 issues of Thor. Catch up on that and then join us on Thursday for the next 3 issues. It's going to be a great walk through his history. Be sure to go follow the show accounts as well on Instagram. We are at Across the Bifrost. On Twitter, we are at Across Bifrost. And a little bit of news about the show. We just got on iTunes. I am excited to expand the show to iTunes now. So if you're listening on iTunes, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show when they drop on Monday and Thursday. Give us 5 stars. We would really appreciate it. And leave a comment. It would really help get some momentum behind the show. I would appreciate that so much. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Across the Bifrost, and I can't wait for you to come and jump on the Rainbow Bridge with us the next time. Have a great rest of your day, and remember, friends, stay worthy.